Hey everybody, and welcome to another segment of AstrologyAnswers.com's weekly forecast. My name is Terence. The week begins on Monday, October the 24th, and this is a big week astrologically because tomorrow on Tuesday the 25th is a new moon solar eclipse, and on Sunday, October the 30th, assertive, ambitious Mars goes retrograde for a couple of months, as it does every 2 years. But before I unpack all of that, let's start with Monday. The moon that sets the public tone is in Libra. Libra is seeking more cooperation, more harmony, is a bit more sociable, and it's going to be aligning with sociable, creative Venus around 9 a.m. to about 11 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time. And by late afternoon, around 4 to 6 Pacific Time, the moon will be in harmony with assertive Mars. So Monday is still a pretty good day, and the Libra moon is calming the waters. On Tuesday, now we have the new moon solar eclipse. We have solar eclipses roughly every 6 months. It does put a major spotlight on where our attention is being drawn to and where we need to make major adjustments if the solar eclipse is triggering a planet in your chart. This solar eclipse will be at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So if you have any planets roughly 2 or 3 degrees around that point in Scorpio, or the opposite in Taurus, whatever that planet is, could be impacted with lots of adjustments for up to the next 6 months. But this solar eclipse is at 2 degrees of Scorpio, is on the day that Venus, creative, sociable, loving Venus, will be at 2 degrees of Scorpio. So this powerful solar eclipse is putting a major emphasis on all things Venus, artistically, romantically. Venus is also a planet of money, and we may need to make some adjustments with our investments and our cash flow. Certainly, there might be adjustments if you are an artist. Now, having the solar eclipse hitting Venus, if your relationships, close relationships, loving relationships, that's Venus, are solid, there could be some rough water, some testing, only to the relationship to become even more strong because of the testing. But weak relationships are going to be really challenged. And the solar eclipse is going to be putting a spotlight on those issues. And if you don't start taking accountability, if you don't start working on your relationship issues, that there could be an eclipse, can eclipse a relationship out of your life. Eclipse is a darkening of the light. So that Venus energy could just be obscured, ended. But that is only for relationships that are already there's in trouble, that needs a lot of work. Now, on Wednesday, the 26th, the moon continues in Scorpio, but it's going to be rough with rebellious, upsetting Uranus, and then separating harsh Saturn. But that's in the morning, from around 6 to 10, that morning period, Pacific time. And that could be the after effects of the solar eclipse, where relationships could be really tested. But the good, solid ones will only get better. Also, Mercury is going to be trining the best flow of energy to assertive, ambitious Mars for the whole day. This is very favorable Mercury for negotiations, where with the Mars, you could be feeling more confident, more assertive. This, when you're looking at Mercury as also as learning and curiosity, that Mercury with Mars could really indicate a day of being really passionate about learning, speaking, writing. But that Mercury is so transactional, really favorable for business negotiations. On Thursday, the moon is now in Sagittarius. With the moon in Scorpio, there's a lot of things that are hidden. That energy tends to cause us to be more private, more introspective. Then on Thursday and Friday, the moon's in Sagittarius. Sagittarius represents the great outdoors, where the Scorpio is that we just want to pull within, into our own private sanctuaries. Sagittarius is very outgoing, extroverted, playful, good for traveling. That's that Sagittarius energies. But also Mercury, that was so great with Mars on Wednesday, on Thursday the 27th, now discerning communication Mercury will be in a hard angle to Pluto. Now, this could be when somebody is trying to convince you to their point of view, but you may be struggling with trying to convince somebody else that you're right, they're wrong. That Mercury-Pluto can be really intense, persuasive energies. Now, to direct it in a more positive way, because it's just energy, so the more troublesome would be trying to prove you're right. And if you get caught up in any kind of a conflict or intense heated discussion, and you know you're right, and maybe you're absolutely right, it's basically, with the Pluto, a no-win situation. You're not convincing anybody. So we're going to take that intense energy and redirect it more positively, because the Mercury is, what are you interested in? What are you thinking about? And when it's with Pluto, Pluto rules the underworld. That can mean psychology, counseling, the occult, astrology. So that intense Mercury energy could trigger a lot of passion for studying, for researching, for counseling, for learning, or having an astrology reading. On Friday, the moon continues in Sagittarius, and by late morning Pacific time, it will be in harmony with pragmatic, stabilizing Saturn. This is a good period for business, for feeling more, using more of your common sense, being more pragmatic. But by early evening, around 6 to 7, 8 p.m. Pacific time, the moon will be in a difficult angle called a square to Neptune. Neptune is this foggy, nebulous energies. So emotionally, in the early evening Pacific time, there could be these misunderstandings or feeling out of focus and confused. Not a good time to be making any important decisions or negotiations. On Saturday, the moon enters Capricorn at 6:22 a.m. Pacific time. And by late afternoon, now, first of all, the moon in Capricorn is very organized, structured, practical, good for all things business overall. Late afternoon Pacific time, the moon will be in harmony with the sun. And really smooth the waters, feel more grounded, more practical. Then in the evening, mid-evening Pacific time, the moon, the public emotional moon, will be in harmony with pleasure-seeking romantic Venus, creative Venus on a Saturday night. Great for for entertainment, great for a romantic dinner. And then on Sunday, Mars goes retrograde till January the 12th. So all things ruled by Mars get more delayed, more frustrated. Mars, in the general rule of thumb overall, during the Mars in retrograde, is do not have elective surgery, because Mars is about cutting. Do not go to war. If you're a country, don't go to war, because it could turn against you. If you have elective surgery, it may need to be repeated. Do not file for a lawsuit or a divorce during the Mars in retrograde. It could turn against you. So I want to thank you for tuning in. I hope to see you next week with my next segment. Until then, be safe and well.